So does anyone else not have this 2 paper? Just trying to get everybody some footing there. Anybody not have the 2 paper? All right, cool. So these are when a is greater than 1, and that's because, look, right here you can see, okay, my a is no longer just 1 or x squared. So first thing, remember we crossed out that step yesterday, is there a GCF? So sometimes there's going to be a GCF, sometimes there's not. The GCF just means greatest common factor, a number that can go into all 3 terms. Is there a GCF here? Is there a number that can go into 2x squared, 2x, and 16? What number? 2. You're going to divide 2 out. So first you need to see, is there a GCF? And then you got to divide each term by that number. And I'm going to put that GCF right here. If you divide by a GCF, it's always going to be in front of the parentheses. I can't do 4 because that would end up being, that's not the GCF. So when you do this, you end up getting x squared plus 1x minus 8. And so that 2 just goes in front of the parentheses. So if you could divide by a GCF, that's where it is. And a lot of people forget about that. Then I start the same process as you've been doing. So now I'm always looking at this one. What's your A here? 1. Your B? 1. Your C?
-8.
Beautiful. So now we're doing, okay, 1 times -8. What is 1 times -8?
-8.
Good. We're multiplying to -8. And we're adding to what number? 1.
That's the
What did you say? Yeah, that's the extra step for the first one. Is yours has 4 on it, doesn't it? Why does this have 2? Right? Okay. Sorry. I don't know why this has 2 on it. This wouldn't, because that wouldn't work out. So this should be 4. Yeah, and so when you divide it, yeah, it should be 2x right here. I put there was a different question on here than what's on your paper. This was wrong. So my b is now 2, which is correct. So now what 2 numbers multiply to -8 but add to 2? What multiplies to -8? 4 and -2. Remember one of them? -2 or -4 and 2. Do any of those add to 2? Which one? -2 and 4, right? Because this is positive. Ding, ding, ding. So I got 4 and -2. And so let's make sure that works. 4 times -2 is -8. Good. 4 plus -2 is 2. So we know we did it correctly. So last thing we did is the same thing. X plus 4, x minus 2. The only difference is that 2 in front, because we divided out the GCF. Does that make sense for that one? Okay. Any questions on this one? So sometimes there will be a GCF like that. The next example is the one that starts with a 3, that paper. Now this one does not have a GCF. So get that next paper out, the one that starts with 3. That one does not have a GCF. You guys see that? There's no number besides 1 that can go to 3, -2, and -8. So we know right here, GCF, there's none. So now I just get started. What's my A here? 3. Now A is no longer 1. What's my B? -2, good. And my C? -8. And so now you actually are going to multiply A times C because it's not going to just give you C anymore. What is A times C? 3 times -8. -24. And I'm going to put -24 And what's my b?
-2.
Good, -2. So we're doing the same thing right here. This hasn't changed. What two numbers multiply to -24 and add the 2? Are you just going to
6.
So list them all on that table. Remember, one of them has to be negative because it's multiplying.
Equal to 4 plus 6.
Good. -4 and 6. If you want to go through and do them all, -6 and 4, -8 and 3, -3 and 8, -12 and 2. So you can keep going, but if you find it, you don't need to go through all this. So you can sit there and list the factors, but you don't need to do that if you can find it quicker. Which one did we end up getting?
-6.
Ding, ding, ding. So we get -6 and 4. And so we know -6 times 4 is -24. And -6 plus 4 equals -2. This is the extra step. So when you know when A is greater than 1, there's always going to be an extra step. And so I'm going to teach you the cheat sheet method. Usually I teach you how to do it for real, like the GCF method. But because of time, we don't have time to go through all of them. And most people think this one's easier anyway, so I'm just going to show it to you. And so first thing you're going to do is write, and if you have a regular, write it right here, but I don't. So I have x minus 6, x plus 4, right? But if I were to do x times x, that does not get me 3x squared. So this is the extra step. When A is greater than 1, you take A. What is A here?
3.
3. And you put it under these two numbers. Then you reduce. Sometimes it will be turned into a new fraction. Sometimes it will just divide. What button on your calculator, if you don't know how to reduce by hand, helps you reduce? ND. So you could do that. I would do that every time just to make sure you got it. But right here you can see, okay, what is 6 over 3 reduced to? -2. Right? So if you put in your calculator, 6 over 3 is just 2. Can this one reduce?
No.
No. If this can't reduce, see this bottom number? It goes and hangs out with the x. And that's your answer.
Wait, which one? You said it's like greater than 3 for the top one.
So this one, if I were to reduce this, what's 6 divided by 3? Yeah, it reduces. If it can't reduce.
Oh, you gotta reduce it.
Yeah. Yeah. If it can't reduce, and so if it was 2 over 1, 1x is the same as just x. And that's your answer. And so there's a lot of different ways to do this. This is a cheat sheet method. So I taught the math department this, and they never even heard of it before. But it's just basically an easier way of going about it. If you've learned a different method and you want to use that, that's fine. I can teach you the other methods, but I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so we're going to try a few together. So let's try. Yeah, so now we're going to go on this worksheet. The first 5 are just regular when A equals 1. And so the next ones, you can see that there's going to be a GCF. So let's try 16 together. Yeah, let's try 16 together. First, when you see it, is there a number that goes into all 3 on number 16? Which number? 2. Divide each by 2. And so you know that GCF, God bless you, is going to go in the answer, like right there. So see how if you're dividing by GCF, it's always on the outside of your answer. And so you end up getting x squared plus 10x plus 16.
That's all we're doing.
And then you have to factor it. So then you do the ACB. So my A is 1, my B is 10, my C is 16. So what's 1 times 16?
16.
Multiply 16 and add to 10. What two numbers is that? 8 and 2. Ding, ding, ding. So I know my answer would be x plus 8, x plus 2.
Do you have to put that 2 out?
You have to put that 2 on the outside.
Like, no, like, it's not 2, 7, 3, you have to put 3 on the
Like,
outside.
yeah, so this one's going to be 3. You have to put 3 on the outside. So you only do that if it can divide, or there's a GCF in there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so let's do one where it doesn't divide. Let's do 21. Because I picked random problems. It was from a worksheet and I only picked the ones I liked. Let me see which one I want to do. Hold on.
Don't you gotta add 2 and 3?
I just want to find one I like though. Hold on. We could just try. Let's try 27. 27. So, is there a number that goes into all 3 of these? No. So I just got to start my A, B, and C. So what's my A here?
10,
10. B
17,
and C
3.
3. So then you do your X, which is ACB. And so what is 10 times 3?
13.
30. And then you're adding to 17. What 2 numbers multiply to 30 and add to 17? So you can list the factors, or some people can just come up with it. 15 and 2.
15 2.
Ding, ding, ding. So I go down and I do, okay, X plus 15, X plus 2. And I picked this one for a reason, you'll see why. What do I need to put under each one? Which is my A that I
You
have?
gotta put 10.
10. And so I chose this one because see how it doesn't just divide? You need to reduce the fraction. So if you don't remember how to reduce, go put the ND button. When in doubt, put the ND button and put 15 over 10. And what does it get you?
3 over 2.
3 over 2. So rewrite it like that.
Don't you gotta move it to?
Yeah, I'm just being extra. I'm doing extra stuff. I'm just showing you why it's like that. And then 2 over 10, what does that reduce to? 1 over 5. Do you guys get what we just did? Yeah, so when you reduce it, you get 3 over 2. When you reduce this, you get 1/5. And so your answer, remember that 2 goes and hangs out with the x, so it's 2x plus 3. And this one is 5x plus 1. Now I know 2 times 5 is 10. I know I did it. And remember, to check your work, you just work backwards. You do the box method, FOIL, distributed property. And if you were to do that with that, you should get this answer. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you're doing today, you're just practicing on the sheet. So you can start at the beginning. The beginning is just where A equals 1. Then it's dividing out the GCF. And then it gets to this one right here. What I want you to remember, though, is always divide by A. Even if you do that extra step right here, and you divide each one by 1, I'd rather you do that extra step than forget to do this step. Because this answer, x plus 15, x plus 2, it will be on your font. Like, it will be an answer choice. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to have you guys work on that for a little bit. Then take your ticket out the door. And then you can work if you have a device. I don't have my computers today. But your Delta Math looks like this. So I can show you real quick.